He uses Wind Blast, and right before shooting Wind Blast, he adds Unbreakable Justice. The new skill fusion has succeeded. The fused skill has been generated. His intelligence has increased by 10, which deals 320% of his attack power to a target that can be up to 6 manners away. Damage range is a 2-meter radius around the target. Stands at the edge of a mountain looking at the scenario, thinking the guy, he means Shin, single-handedly killed a canyon spider, and he himself hasn't seen this in ages. Pierrot thinks that he may be rough around the edges, but his abilities grow each time he defeats an opponent. He realizes he has finally found his agent of revenge from Asmafel. Unfortunately, that's where the story ends.